Yay! Want to be a hero, but they've done too much bad in their past characters. It's just something you could easily do very wrong. Yes, I'm right! I know exactly what's happening here. It was really boring. He's a congressman? Of course it goes wrong. Now his depression has superpowers. Hi guys, welcome back to another Nerd Rants video, and I didn't really expect this, but we're doing another Marvel movie. It's happening. This hasn't happened in a while. Besides, I haven't gone to a Marvel movie in the theaters, and if I have, I haven't really enjoyed it in a very long time, since like No Way Home came out. That is the last Marvel movie that I genuinely enjoyed, and it was an exception to the rule since Endgame. So, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 came out after No Way Home. What am I saying? Anyway, all that to say, I haven't truly enjoyed a Marvel movie in a while, and I haven't really cared what's been coming out. So yeah, we're doing Marvel. Yay! So we're gonna talk about Thunderbolts, like this movie that I don't think anyone really cared about in the Marvel fandom, and not just because of the way Marvel's been going, but just because of the concept of it, with taking these anti-heroes and throwing them together. And the idea of it, I don't think excited really anyone. Like, didn't have any high hopes for this movie. I was like, oh, whatever. I genuinely forgot it was happening this year. I didn't care to remember when it came out. So, yeah. I had no intention of seeing this movie or remembering that this movie existed. And then I started seeing like videos and reviews and stuff pop up saying that it was really good. So I thought, what the heck? You can go check it out. I will give Marvel a chance because of just the part it plays in my childhood, and that I do have a desire for it to be better than it has been. So I went, and guys, I was not expecting it to be so good. It was actually very, very good, well done, a very well done movie. It obviously has some of its moments because it's still, it's still Disney Marvel. So it has its moments of cringe jokes or whatever. But overall, it was a very good movie. Honestly, it was well done. The characters were not annoying. Red Guardian has his moments. He probably is the most Disney-fied character in that movie, but he has his moments, but it's fine. But the characters are done well, and they're developed well, and they put the proper amount of focus on the characters within this story. The story idea itself is well done, and I don't really know what to say because I wasn't expecting anything out of this movie, and I go in and I come out of it, and I actually enjoyed myself, and I'm actually intrigued and interested in what comes next, and it gives me hope for the Fantastic Four movie coming out and all of those things, and it's not what I thought would happen going into this. So very pleasantly surprised. That's really all I have spoiler-free wise. Is just it's a quality Marvel movie, which we haven't had in a while. And now into more spoiler stuff. Obviously, this movie takes characters that we have seen in mostly previous movies, and then John Walker. John Walker, which is probably the only interesting part from the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. That's probably... No, She-Hulk is the last Marvel show I watched all the way through, but that was just for the sake of making a hate video. But Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think, was the last Marvel show I seriously watched through, and I think John Walker and his whole arc and turning and the power, the ambition taking over and all of that, and him killing an innocent man was probably the most interesting part of that entire show. So, but definitely the best part to bring back in this movie. So yeah, they're taking all of these characters that we know from previous movies. So it's Ghost, John Walker, Yelena, Bucky, obviously, Taskmaster, Red Guardian, obviously. I feel like I'm blanking on one, but I'm probably not. Yeah, I don't think I am. Anyway, so they're bringing back characters that we know from other movies, just like the anti-hero, like the damaged, want to be a hero, but they've done too much bad in their past characters. And it's, I guess, sort of supposed to be like this redemptive movie for them, in a sense. And that's really probably how I viewed it. And I was like, I don't want just all of these characters going out in this redemption story. And oh, now we're heroes or anything like that. And it's not really what it's not really what it was, which was good. They established the characters and their deep flaws, obviously, as with the people that they are in the past they have and all of that. And they utilize that in the story. And we bring in, like, deep down, yes, they still have that heroic good side to them because that is established in their character anyway. But we don't negate these major flaws that they have in their characters. So they did that very well. And through to the end, like the ending with the little twist from the main villainous, sort of, the reason for all their problems, pulling a fast one and finding a way to keep herself from getting arrested, and instead of like revealing that and getting her arrested anyway, they take on this lie that she tells and go and just sort of accept it as the truth and say, we owe you now, which I love that through to the end they hold on to that, some of that selfishness and those habits that they have learned because of their past. So that's very, very good in my opinion. I'm glad they didn't just like, get redeemed, you're a hero now, and whatever negative flaws that you had at the beginning of the movie are just gone now. Forget your trauma and all of that, you're just good now. So yes, they handled the characters very well in this one, including Sentry, which as a hero, like, I'm not a Marvel Comics nerd. No offense to all the Marvel Comics nerds out there. But so I didn't really know who Sentry was. And I got some information about that just because those are some of the kinds of videos that come up on my YouTube. So I got some information about that. I'm just like, oh, it's kind of like the Marvel version of Superman. And so he's super, super powerful. Which, you know, then makes it harder to bring him into a universe of all much weaker heroes, especially in the sense where we are now a team of virtually unpowered people. Like, Yelena has no superpowers. John Walker's only power is he's a super soldier, so he's just like physically better than them, and that's the same situation with Red Guardian. And Ghost sort of has a superpower. Sort of. But it's literally just going through solid objects and turning invisible. So, like, a cool superpower, but not an effective, like, fighting superpower, really. Bucky, again, is just a super soldier. So half of the team is super soldiers, which don't have these extreme superpowers like Thor and Doctor Strange and all of that. And then Yelena has no power. And then we have Ghost, Ava something, who has a very defensive superpower. And so bringing Sentry into a movie with characters like that is another reason that I was just like, whatever, because I feel like everyone who understands Sentry's character more than I do was very concerned about how they would handle that and how they would have to nerf Sentry's character and how they would handle the nerfing of that character, because it's not necessarily, it's just something you could easily do very wrong, but I think they handled it very well. Like, he had his moments of, he's very OP and this is ridiculous, but then in the end, the way they kind of settle this and then weaken his character is very interesting. So, yeah, the characters were handled well. And that's, I guess, not entirely spoilers either. False alarm last time. Now we'll get into kind of a rant about the plot and stuff happening and the different things. Because I need to talk through things. Yeah, so starts out, it's kind of a just like Black Ops cleanup, under the radar cleanup crew thing with Yelena working for Valentina, who is introduced in the shows and then briefly in the post-credit scene of Black Widow, I believe. So she's very much a Marvel shows character who, yeah, still slightly mad that all of the shows that are, you know, very clearly exclusively Disney Plus were so integral to the plot. And I'm hearing that they're changing that. They're reducing the number of projects in Marvel and they're making the shows less integral to like the main universe plot, which will be very good. It's a very good change in my opinion. But anyway, Valentina, Yelena's working for Valentina, and we have the whole Hawkeye situation, and she comes to terms with the fact that no, he's not responsible for Widow's death, blah, blah, blah. Now she's working at basically a cleanup and taking all the skeletons out of Valentina's closet. Anyway, all of our main characters end up in the same place with all of the evidence against Valentina because the government is doing a search and trying to impeach her as the CIA not director. I don't remember her role specifically. I cared about it the least in the movie. But anyway, they end up in the same place. They're all fighting each other, and they come to realize, oh, we were all sent here to take each other out because we are the only loose ends left. And she plans to destroy us and kill us, and then she's off scot-free. So that was fun, and I figured it out almost right away. Like, as soon as John Walker came on screen and was attacking Yelena, I was like, oh, is she pulling this? And then it was Taskmaster showed up to attack John Walker, and I was like, yes, I'm right, I know exactly what's happening here. And so they were all sent by Valentina to take each other out, but she was really just trying to get them into the same place. So that was interesting. Taskmaster just dies. She has like maybe 5 minutes of screen time and then she just dies. And I was okay with that. Like, their version of Taskmaster was so meh. She was really boring and I didn't care about any of the story or any of that. It was really boring. And hearing my brother rave about Taskmaster as a character in the comics, and then seeing how they did the character in the MCU is really disappointing. So she died within the first 5 minutes of her screen time, and I was just like, oh cool, bye. Whatever, Taskmaster, like, I couldn't care less that you're gone. Nice. Actually, nice. It's like, Marvel, you're starting to learn from your mistakes. So we're taking out the version of this character that you did so dirty. And we're focusing on quality instead of quantity. And yay! There's a chance for Marvel, I feel like, as I hear more information about what's going on. There may be a chance for Marvel. Okay. Yeah, she dies. And then they accidentally wake up Bob, who is also Sentry. But he has no clue. Because he just woke up from a coma and doesn't remember anything. So that's how they nerf him at the beginning of the movie, is he has no idea who he is. He doesn't understand his powers or really entirely how he has them, what all he can do, any of that. So they kind of nerf him in the beginning that way, where he's, you know, figuring out what he can do and who he is and that kind of thing, and gaining a relationship with these, you know, these main characters, with Ghost and Yelena and John Walker, mostly Yelena. And so developing that connection to then later serve in the movie later. Then they discover he's bulletproof, he can fly, all that, and he gets captured while Yelena and the others escape. And they then also, because they kind of see him use his powers, they start to realize what Valentina did to him. And Bucky shows up to save them because he is a congressman, which I assume is explained in Captain America Brave New World, which I don't care to see and will not. But I assume it's explained how he gets into Congress in that movie. That was the one thing where he just showed up and it's like, freshman congressman. I'm like, oh, he's a congressman? But anyway, it was fine. He's not a congressman for very long. And so he shows up, saves their butts, then captures them like, you're gonna be evidence. We have to take down Valentina. And so then he gets roped into the whole Bob situation. So then they go to try and save Bob, but Valentina, being the douche she is, has manipulated him into believing that they were bad and that she is the only one who knows him and teaching him his powers and all of that. And he gets his suit, which from what I've seen of comic book pictures is fairly comic book accurate. So yeah, there's that. And then, obviously, he finds out how powerful he really is and gets a god complex and turns on her. So then Valentina tries to use a kill switch, but of course it goes wrong. Why would it work? So then because Bob is like bipolar, basically. He's like, the entire movie he's going like, I have highs and I have lows, and when I have lows, it's like bad. And so he has depression, if not bipolar disorder. And so obviously he survives, but he's, sinks into this low and is very depressed and all of that and kind of loses control of his body. And he turns into basically a dark sentry. Because of his enhancement, now his depression has superpowers. The effect they used to make him just pitch black with little yellow dots for eyes, so cool, genuinely creepy, I loved it. His powers as the dark version of Sentry is actually very cool and very creepy, because he just looks at a person or puts his hand toward a person and they go into a shadow, and it's actually creepy and it's cool to watch. The effect on it was very cool, actually. And so we have that, and Yelena's and her team, called the Thunderbolts because of her childhood soccer team, gets their butts kicked right before Sentry goes into his dark depression version. And then they're saving people from rubble, and then, hooray, Yelena gets sucked, decides to go into the shadow and gets poofed. And then we find out that his power doesn't kill people. It puts them into rooms that replay some of their worst memories over and over and over again. And so then they have to go through a maze of bad memories to find Bob, and then convince Bob to leave with them, and then hunt down the dark version of Sentry in order to defeat him. And that's how they win. the movie is very, very focused on the depression of Yelena after the loss of her sister, and just feeling very purposeless in this world without any family and without any particular mission. She's just going around taking people out. And so her loneliness and her emptiness with that, and her depression that goes with that, and John Walker having some depression because he did this horrible thing in like the heat of the super soldier serum and lost his family. And who else? Bucky's just Bucky. He's always angsty. Guardian's the most, he's like the happiest character there, and he just is very excited to have a team and to be a part of something because he feels bored. Because he drives a limo now. Anyway, so there's just a lot of depression going on in this movie, and so that's really the main issue behind it. Like, they have the villain and the action and all of that, but really the main villain of this movie is technically depression. And so in the end, the whole idea of getting Bob to kind of snap out of it is you're not alone, Bob. You have people with you now. And Yelena using this connection that they made when he first woke up to convince him that he has people who care about him now. Despite everything that happened in his past, there are people here for him now. And kind of that idea of found family, which sounds very cheesy. Like, I got out of the theater and was like thinking about just the concepts of how they solved this, and that is so cheesy, but they did it very well. Like, there is a little bit of cheesiness in there, a little bit, but that's really hard to avoid when you're doing a concept of just like, don't be depressed, you have people with you. So it's a little hard to avoid all cheesiness entirely. But considering how easy it would be to just be fully cheesy, nothing, just full cheese, they handled it very well, and it was very cool, very interesting way for them to do it, and having just the way they utilize the characters, and it works together, and so this connection leads to this connection, and that's why they're able to do this at the very end. I think it's just a very they just handled the characters and the concepts and all of that very well in this movie. And the effects were very good, and the story was solid, the characters were solid. So it was very refreshing to go into the theater for a Marvel movie and come out genuinely enjoying what I had just seen, and something that I would honestly be willing to go see again. Versus the Marvel movies, pretty much all of them recently. I haven't really seen a lot of them in theaters, but when I eventually did watch them, I finished it and went, I don't need to see that movie ever again. So yeah, it's just very refreshing. I'm tentative to say that the MCU is back. There are a lot of people saying like they watched Thunderbolts and they're like, the MCU is back. I am tentative to say that yet. I kind of want to see how more projects go, because given how the last saga of MCU movies went, they had a lot of bad ones and then one or two really good ones. So I'm tentative to be like, oh, the MCU is back, but just with the things that I'm hearing and the quality of Thunderbolts, I think there is hope for the MCU. We will see how Fantastic Four goes and some of the other projects that are coming out in the future, and that will really determine my opinion of the MCU as a whole now. But yeah, those are really all my thoughts on Thunderbolts. It's a pretty simple movie as far as storyline and stuff. There's not a whole lot to delve into unless you want to do a super deep dive into Sentry's emotional state, but I'm not going to do that. So yeah, it's a genuinely good movie. I was pleasantly surprised. I actually enjoyed this, and it does, for the first time in a very long time, make me excited for where the MCU could potentially go. Like, it feels more grounded and like there is an actual plan for this saga, something beyond just whatever the multiverse saga was. So yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I'm genuinely excited for what comes next. I'm excited to see if they hold up this level of quality. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, like, discuss this. Where do you stand on the MCU at the moment? I'd just be interested to hear all your thoughts. If you have not seen Thunderbolts yet, I do recommend this movie. It's actually very good. They did a good job, and I'm proud of the MCU. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Feel free to share yours in the comments. I post videos on this channel on Saturdays, and I post videos on my audiobook channel on Thursdays. I'll see y'all next time.